hi Ciara.
Hi.
Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Can you tell us a little bit about your company, Sansanima?
We have an animal replacement technology for use with tetanus vaccines and botulinum medicine products.
And it's an interesting name. Can you tell us what it means?
So it means without souls. So we don't use any animals, any souls in this technology to ultimately to quality control these major essential global medicines such as tetanus vaccine. Historically, for the past 100 years, they've been using the same sort of tests, and we want to come in and change that. That's why we're here.
And I take it there's a big demand for animal-free products?
There's a huge demand. I mean, there's been a massive public pushback, and people are just getting more and more aware of the sort of the cruelty aspect of some of these tests. They don't want it, and now is the time. The technology is finally here. At this point in time to replace. So regulators as well across the world, there's a big push from them for companies to actually replace their legacy testing. And companies want to do it, it's just how to do it, because there's huge regulatory barriers across the world. So in the case of tetanus, what you actually need in order to make this work is a sort of a collective push from the entire weight of the industry to get behind a technology. And as part of this, company, what we did was we set up an international consortium of tetanus vaccine manufacturers in collaboration with UK Medicine and Health Regulatory Agency, who are one of the global authorities on animal replacement technologies. They advise to the WHO. So in collaboration with them, we invited major manufacturers to trial our technology in a consortium study. And this, we then got funded by the Research Council, the NC3Rs. And this is running at the moment. It's a 2-phase study, and we're in phase 1 at the moment, where we take manufacturers' products and we test them with our technology here at the University of Sheffield. And then and now we've spun out this company. And then next what we will do is we will deliver the technology to them and train them in how to use it. And then we'll do some sort of pilot experiments across the globe, which will be it's overseen by the MHRA, who will collate all the data. So the idea is basically to get a collective industry-wide sort of answer to this, because for various regulatory reasons, it's almost impossible for individual companies to innovate on their own across multiple jurisdictions. So we've come up with this answer, and that's what we're intending to do.
Interesting. Now, running a company, starting a company isn't for the faint-hearted.
No.
What was your own personal, what prompted you personally to start to look at commercialising your research?
Well, we ultimately knew this was a problem. So right from the get-go, we designed a technology specifically to answer this problem. So we always had in our mind who would use it. And we wanted to know what the best way to make an impact would be. So there's the possibility that it could be a licensing model run through the University of Sheffield, or would we need to make a spin-out company? And this was a question we had, which we didn't really have the answer to for a long time. And what really sort of catalyzed everything was participating in the iCure program, iCure Explorer, run through Innovate UK. So basically in that program, you explore the market pull for your technology. And it quickly became clear that there was a major pull. Manufacturers want to solve it, regulators want to solve it, the public want to solve it. And it quickly became apparent what the barriers were, this collective answer needed. So it was part of that program that I had the idea to set up this study, and then very quickly that was done. The MHRA invited the manufacturers in, and we had people signed up to do it. And then after iCure, you do something called an options roundabout, where you present your business case to industry experts, scientists, investors, and they recommend, after you pull together a lot of data, whether you have a case for a spin-out or potentially just a licensing kind of deal through the university. They recommended us strongly for spin-out. And then I went into another program called Explore, where you write a grant essentially with support from Innovate UK to seed your company. And we began that grant in April of 2024. So we've just started really, yeah. So that's why.
And obviously the life of an entrepreneur is somewhat different from the life of an academic.
Yes.
Do you find your life has changed in the last year or so when you've started this company?
Well, massively. So, I mean, each with their challenges. But yeah, so I'm CEO of the company. So in some aspects, there's, you're looking for grants, you're looking for funding, you're looking for investment in order to keep yourself afloat and your company afloat. But the stakes are just a little bit higher. So I'm an early career researcher, so I'm not on a tenured sort of contract with the university. So the stakes are always high for me. I'm always living contract to contract and grant to grant. So, people in my position are quite well placed to do this because you have to have quite an appetite for, living on the edge and not necessarily knowing where where the money is coming from soon down the line. So, from that respect, it's been good to transfer, but it's just been a completely different challenge. So many unanticipated things, and everything is new. The business development, the legal side, negotiating licenses, and the customer development, product development. So it's really exciting, and it's certainly not boring. And we're constantly just we're on our toes.
And you talked about the options roundabout earlier. I mean, obviously, one of the options for an early career researcher is to stay in the university, to look for a permanent academic position. Did the prospect of that weigh on your mind when you were considering going with the spin-out company?
Well, I think, yeah, it always does. But at the end of the day, we'd worked hard. So this technology, I was one of the inventors of, but it came across from two different labs at the University of Sheffield, and a few other people who've contributed within the lab besides me and are actively involved. And I guess what would have to have this impact, to get it out there, we came to realize in iCure it had to be a spin out. It couldn't be done through the university, so we had to do it for various reasons in a spin out to make it a real actual prospect for companies to take on. So all of those years of work, if I wanted those to have an impact, we had to do it this way, and it's really exciting. So in your lifetime I might get to see something that.
Yeah, it's fantastic. Yeah. I mean, things have changed as well. In my time, when I established a spin out, it was almost a choice between spin out and an academic career, but it's got a lot easier now to come back and forward, back and forth between the university and the spin out activity. I mean, can you talk a little bit more about how the university has helped you to commercialize your research?
Yeah, I mean, the commercialization team, they've been amazing, really. So we've had two really great TTOs supporting the project, Richard Senior and Nicola Galley, who was on the secondment there. And they both really, they sort of held our hand through it. And, now looking back, it's sort of, we really knew absolutely nothing. I'm sure we're constantly learning, but they really babysat us through the steps, and nothing seemed too onerous. They sort of drip fed us bit by bit what was coming, and that's the only way to do it, because you don't want to necessarily see the mountain ahead straight away. So they've been just amazing giving us support, and Richard has recently come into Sansanima as well. In fact, today is his first day officially as our operations manager within the company. So the support there has been amazing. They've been on the ground from the get-go.
Great. So talking about mountains, the challenges that all entrepreneurs face, how would you characterize the challenges that you've faced so far in your commercialization journey?
Well, I mean, it's spinning plates, continuous moving parts, trying to keep a handle on things. But at the same time, there's a sense that everything is progressing in the right direction. It's just keeping control of everything. And I think in an early stage sort of spin out, you're sort of having to sort of oversee every aspect of the business. You've not got departments or anything like that. So from that perspective, it's a challenge. Our challenges this year are securing further funding to keep all of the employees within the company afloat, and to reach our goals. So that's one major area. We also are dealing directly with customers this year. So we're in a position where we're, in sort of looking at negotiating contracts and licenses. And then on the other end of it, the actual spin-out process of getting out of the university, there's a lot of, there's a lot there, a lot of effort involved. So making the case that you're a spin-out, a lot of due diligence, the paperwork, there's a lot to do. I mean, it's necessary, but it does take a lot of time, just to spin out, So I think, all of those moving parts. There's funding first to keep alive, and then, everything else comes
One of the
second.
most difficult things I found in my own spin-out journey was learning how to speak to investors. I'm just wondering how that's going for you, and if you reflect on what you've learned, and what advice would you give other researchers that might be thinking about going on this journey?
I guess investors are looking at what ultimately they want to make something that's going to make them money, but they also invest in a team and, their level of sort of passion for it and what they're doing. So it's the people and the place, I suppose, and, also what your product is, and there's all of those aspects. So it's learning how to condense down, everything that you're doing in a sort of an attractive way, in a concise way, instead of just rambling on. So they need to know, you need to get to the point quickly. And that's constantly something, that I'm refining and we're refining. And then, again, we've had great support just in terms of the TTOs opening doors and helping us make connections with investors has been really good. So I feel really lucky actually to be part of a spin-out from a university where you've got that sort of level of support that you wouldn't do had you just set up completely on your own with no sort of infrastructure behind you. So I do feel that's been really valuable.
Do you feel that the university is proud of Sansanima?
Well, we're still proving ourselves, but I do. There's been a lot of excitement around us, and it's still very early days, but there's been definitely a buzz, and that's clear. We've had such positive reactions, and that spurred us on.
Great.
Yeah.
And, you talked at the start about how the company's business model is developing, etc. And could you talk a bit about your ambitions for the company? How big do you think this could be?
Well, we have our initial market, which is tetanus vaccine manufacturers. And just to put tetanus vaccine basically, it's a biological and it's essential global medicine. So currently, 84% of children globally receive at least 3 doses of tetanus vaccine, which usually comes as a combined vaccine with diphtheria and pertussis and occasionally other things. This is the backbone of immunization schedules across the globe. And the bacteria that causes it exists in the soil. So it can't be eradicated. So that's why we always need the vaccine. You can't have a herd immunity or anything like this. So as the population grows, there's an ever increasing need. Occasionally there's shortages in this field as well. And a lot of the backlog is to do with, backlog in animal testing, which is inaccurate. It takes a long time. So you often get sort of false positives where it looks like the batch is not safe. And our technology gets around all these problems. So that's our first sort of market it's quite a grand scale to replace that literally across, regions across the world. We're hoping to go through Europe first, but then expand quite quickly. And we're also working with botulinum manufacturer to develop an assay or technology for their animal replacement. And then there's other sort of what you call clostridial vaccines. So tetanus and botulinum, they belong to a family of clostridial toxins. So they're highly poisonous, but used in these ways are medicines. Next, we'll look at other clostridial medicines out there. That's our next sort of markets to go into, and we've already developed the technology in some way to answer their problems. So yeah, we see it on a grand scale, and we've got lofty ideas,
And in terms of the location here in Sheffield, what are the attractors apart from the university for being able to stay, grow, and realise that ambition here in Sheffield?
Well, it's a lovely place to live, and as we all know, it's still an economical place to live compared to a lot of the UK. So, but at the same time, there's 2 universities at Sheffield, so there's a lot of, it's got a vibrancy about the people here, even though it's got that sort of a small town, sometimes village feel about it. You've got a lot of intellectual vibrancy here, so it's a great place to, find people to come into your company and help to grow it. And the actual landscape of, startups out of Sheffield, I had no idea, but there's loads going on. So it's been, I've participated in some local events, so with other startups, we're showcasing what Sheffield has to offer to investors, across the country. And, I've been amazed at kind of the breadth of stuff coming out of Sheffield. So yeah, I think it's a great place to be a startup.
Fantastic. Look, I can assure you we're very proud of you in the University of Sheffield, and we hope that Sansanima will go on to do great things. And we thank you very much, Ciara, for talking to us today.
Oh, well, thank you very much.
Thank you.